Welcome to another March Madness edition of the Daily Deuce. I'm Gary Graves from just outside Louisville, Kentucky, and in Maryland, the land of pleasant living and a state that is searching for a basketball coach for its men's program at my alma mater, the U of M. John Webster, how are you doing from just up the road there in College Park?
Gary, I'm doing great, man. I'm enjoying the March Madness with the men's and women's brackets. A lot of good basketballs being played. I'm watching basketball late into the night. Um, I even found another basketball tournament to watch. It started yesterday. It's in Las Vegas. I think it's called the Basketball Crown or something. They have about 16 teams in it. Georgetown, George Washington, Boise State. So I'm just watching nonstop basketball, man. I'm having a great time. Hey, man, but how's John Pitt doing? Pitt, you having a good time, man? Well, I guess
He might be
Pitt,
looking at his brackets, so
he might be looking at his
I'm
brackets. Make
sorry.
sure.
Yeah, I'm sorry I was on mute there. I'm in first place in both brackets. I'm a little excited. Sorry about that. Distracted.
Well, keep up the good work, Pitt. I know you're enjoying yourself, but Gary, let's jump into this thing, man. We got the men's tournament going on right now, man. What do you think?
well, I'd say I like the way that the field eventually shook out. Some people can look at four number ones in Auburn, Florida, Houston, and Duke getting there and just say, what's the risk in that? But it's only happened one other time where all four number ones made it. So if it was easy, everybody would do it, and I think all four of them proved that they earned those number one seedings. I still stand by my pick for Florida to win it all because I just think they're a team that they showed that pretty much in the Sweet 16 how they can kind of, I guess, not toy with a team. I mean, that a team can compete with them. But ultimately, when you've got Walter Clayton leading the way, that they're a pretty hard team to beat. I mean, they've got they're an inside out team, and sometimes they can play outside in. They're dominant, and I still like them. What are your thoughts?
Well, Florida showed a lot of resiliency on Saturday. They were down in the last minute and a half by 6 and 9 points to who I can't remember who they were playing. Texas Tech.
Yeah.
And they came through, hit three threes, and they're tough, man.
Yeah.
That kid Walter Clayton, I think he is a kid that's going to be playing on the next level, man. That's what I think. They're tough. We talked about the other last week with the Maryland game. Florida goes to the bench and they bring 7-footers in the game. Not too many teams can do that.
Yeah.
So they have they're very deep, they're very big. They got what's the kid's name? Howe. He comes in the game, and the big aircraft carrier number 21 was a Dorman.
Yeah.
I mean, great ball player. Does what an aircraft carrier needs to do, protects the rim, protects that middle. I love what he does. It's going to be interesting when they play Auburn. Not much is being said about it right now, but Janai Brooms did hurt his right elbow on Sunday evening against Michigan State. It's going to be a key to see what his health is. Auburn is not as deep. They're deep, but I don't think they're as deep as
they're pretty deep because remember,
Yeah.
they won those first two games without him, with him averaging just 11 points per game, and I mean, he was almost like 10 points below his average, and I mean, they stepped up in both of those games, actually in all four games so far.
They're deep. Don't get me wrong, they're deep, but Florida is some kind of deep that nobody else really is deep like that. I mean, I hear Seth Greenberg calling them like Noah's Ark. They got two of everything. They're just they are, and I like Auburn. You know how I feel about Bruce Pearl.
Hmm.
So I like Auburn. I'm not sure. I want Auburn to win. I'm not sure how they're going to do it. They had a hard time when they played at Auburn during the season. Florida went to Auburn, if you remember, and they pretty much beat the brakes off of them at Auburn.
At Auburn.
So we got to see. Broom is going to be a key. The aircraft carrier they got. I love Cardwell. Cardwell is closing that middle up. He plays defense nonstop. He's got a great motor. The only thing he doesn't that he struggles with, has a challenge with, his foul shooting. He's shooting like 38% from the foul line. He
Yeah.
hit a foul shot the other day, and they gave him a standing ovation. So that's he's a very good ball player.
Yeah.
Another key to this game, he's been a key the entire tournament, and he has done very well. Is Chad? Don't tell me, Garrett. Give me a second. Give me a second. Baker Mazzara, CBM. Did I get it
Yep.
correct this time?
CBM. Yep. You got it.
Okay,
You
so
got it.
he has been playing very well. He's been hitting some clutch shots. He's been handling the ball when he needs to. He's been playing great defense. Needs to continue that. One of the things that I saw with Auburn on Sunday, they are susceptible to pressure. I saw Michigan State start putting a little full court press on them at the end, and they
Hmm.
didn't really handle that very well. So we'll see how that goes because Florida's gonna do what Florida does. So that's going to be really good. You go on that other side. You got Duke and Houston. Let's take Houston first.
Okay.
If Houston has a 10-point lead, it's like a 20-point lead. So Houston's up at halftime 34-15. 34-15, Houston is up. They held Tennessee to 15 points in the first half, and you're down by 19. You're not coming back on Houston when you're down 19 because of the way Houston plays.
Yeah.
They're going to be playing Duke. Duke played a really great game against Alabama. Alabama is one that concentrates on shooting threes. That's just not. I'm not going to knock it because it works for them. Nate Oates, great. It's great, but it's just not what I would want to rest my hat on, just shooting a bunch of threes. So, and they had a really rough game shooting threes, and their defense did not hold up well. Now, with Duke going against Houston, both teams play very great defense. It's going to be really good on the defensive end. But Duke is a little bit better on offense than Houston is.
A lot better. Yes. Sorry.
Well,
Yeah.
it's a family show. We're trying to be nice, Gary.
Okay. Okay. No, I'm gonna
But
keep it clean. I was gonna keep it clean, but I know what you're saying.
you're right. I mean, their offense is a lot better. I think I give the edge in that one to Duke because Duke, I mean, and the size that Duke has with the aircraft carrier they have in the middle, Malachi, I think I call him Malachi, Malucci.
Malawak.
Malawak. Okay. I
Yeah.
don't know what I'd do without you, Gary, because I just mess up these names. I'm sorry. I apologize.
I, I write, but sometimes I have to write it out in phonetics to just in case I get asked about it on a fine show like this.
And then I'll tell you another player that they have. A couple of them. Knuckle,
Oh,
Knuffle,
Kneppel. Yeah, Kneppel.
Knuckle,
Yeah.
and the Proctor kid. They're
Yeah.
unsung heroes. Very much unsung heroes and play really well. I don't even have to mention Cooper Flagg. I mean, come on. He's absolutely an unbelievable player. He plays older than he actually is.
Mhm.
He can handle the ball. He can play off the ball. He plays great defense. The thing that I noticed about him on what was that, Saturday or Sunday? I get my days confused now. But when they played Alabama, he was not really the focus of the offense. But he was doing other things, setting people up for good shots, setting picks, playing great defense. That's what a great ball player does. do other things when other things aren't working. And I just think I think I give the edge to Duke. I think they can. I think they can. I think they can beat Houston. It's going to be well. I don't think it's going to be like Houston's last two games with Purdue and Tennessee. Boy, whew, that was
Yeah.
defense at its finest, watching paint dry on a wall. But we will see. We will see how that plays out. I think I'm looking at Duke and I'm looking at Auburn. That's what I'm looking at for a final game. It could easily be Duke and Florida, and I'm thinking
Oh, you're picking
Duke.
Auburn?
Got to go with Bruce Pearl, man. I'm picking
Oh,
with my heart.
I,
I'm
I,
picking with my heart, not my head.
okay, okay. Well, my picks are Florida versus Duke. And as much as I like Houston, in that bracket facing Duke, it's like what you said. Both of them play great defense. But if you're Houston and you're going against an offense that, again, can play that inside outside game, can score from all over the floor, you got to figure out where to find those extra points to keep pace with Duke, because you can key you can key on Cooper Flag if you want, and now and you don't necessarily even have to double team him. If you shadow him, all that does is open up the floor for other guys like Kneppel, Malawak. I mean, they can spread the ball around. How do you answer that kind of offense if they're knocking them down from outside or from just inside the arc? Because people, for all the talk about the 3-pointer, people forget about how good Duke is from inside the line, and we always say those twos can add up just as quickly as a couple of threes. Now, having said that, on the other side of the bracket, I love Bruce Pearl too. I love watching Janai Broom, and when we're talking about Cardwell, it's like I look at him and I see Wes Unseld in college at Louisville. Just that same kind of bulk and size,
Mm-hmm.
except for, of course, Wes Unseld was a better free throw shooter. And with Cardwell, I worry about when I say I worry about foul trouble, I don't think he's necessarily foul prone, but in a game like going against Florida, and it's kind of a blood feud at this point because Auburn hasn't forgotten that beating that Florida laid on them in their home gym, and I think Bruce Pearl himself even said, we play better away from home we play better on the road than we do at home, and that part is true. But Florida is just so balanced offensively. What Todd Golden has done there in 3 years, and really just getting offense from so many different people, it's almost kind of scary. And when we talk about Walter Clayton, as much as we rave about him, consider this: he was a 4-star football recruit in high school. Can you imagine what he might have done for Florida had he stuck with football? He was a quarterback, and he was a 4-star recruit. And I'm still trying to figure out how they got him over to basketball when he probably could have helped that football program. Of course, Todd Golden was probably one to say, "Hey, kid, you got some skills in basketball." But the way that he runs the floor, and there was one play in particular where he got the ball about midcourt. He took a pass, a handoff, and ran 3 quarters and sliced through that defense for a layup and made it look easy. And the thing was, he was going so fast, I thought he was going to dunk it, and he caught him off guard by just going up for a left-handed layup. That kid makes them go, and he's another guy that I feel like if you focus on trying to shut him down, there are other guys that he can go out to. Condon is one. As I look down this roster here, I was thinking, Martin is another guy, and they're very balanced, and they play great defense too. I forgot to add that they really do play wonderful defense. They can press. They have a very effective zone, and I think that's the thing that Auburn has to do. If they're going to beat Florida, I pick Florida, but again, if Auburn, if they're going to beat them, they're going to have to figure out a way to beat that zone, which means that guys like Baker Mazzara have to step up. The guard, Tahad Pettiford, has to keep up, his hot shooting in a game like this. And really, I think you have, if you're Auburn, since you've been to the Final Four more recently than Florida, you have to think about the kind of team you have to tune out the Final Four aspect and kind of look at them as the same team that you faced in SEC play, where I said that they tend to cannibalize each other at some point, that you use that familiarity from seeing them and figure out what do we do differently this time. That's how I feel like Auburn can do that. As for Janai Broome, as you alluded to about his injury, quiet as it's kept, in fact, it's not that quiet. The speculation has been that some of his offensive fall off at times this season, especially down the stretch when they lost 3 or 4, was because he was quietly nursing an injury that I think kind of slowed him offensively, and he was contributing on the defensive end. It was good to see him bounce out of that these last 2 games. I think he had something like 22 and maybe 18, those last 2 games. So that part was encouraging to see. We'll wait and see if I guess you said a right elbow injury or something when he went down. Yeah, we'll see how that affects him. Of course, I think he'll adjust. He's the kind of guy who'll probably adjust. And I think Bruce Pearl is a good enough coach that you can try to get something out of any of these other guys to really try to help him out. And I'll just say, I'm gonna look down the roster. We talked about Baker Mazzara, we talked about Broome, we talked about Cardwell, but a guy like Howard, I think you might have mentioned him as well. Can shoot the ball. Miles Kelly, another one, and he might be the X factor for him because he had a good opening game. Actually, he chipped in when they overcame Creighton. So again, this team is deep enough that they can offset some of Janai's off games or some of the attention that he gets. But I think really, if they're going to beat a team like Florida, they're going to need all hands on deck offensively, and you just have to figure out a way to get Janai Broome in situations where maybe he doesn't have to. He doesn't favor the elbow. Maybe get him into space in some way, shape, or form, because he is very good in space. I mean, as good as he is, close to the basket, he's also good in space, and I think that's where the danger is in defense. Solely defending him because they have a lot of other guys that are good in space.
Yeah, I agree. And like we always say, Gary, let's see what happens, man. It's going to be really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
But now, let's take a look at that women's side, man. What do you
Yes,
think?
indeed. Well, at first, I thought it was going to be 4 number ones in on that side as well, but UConn showed that they're still UConn, and that might be, in my view, the most dangerous team in that Final Four because Paige Beckers quietly got off, and I know that sounds like a contradiction, but at the time that when she was stringing together baskets, I think she had only had maybe about 6 points. So it just shows how explosive she can be in spurts. Next thing you know, she's got close to 30 points. I forgot to see what she finished with last night, but that team is playing its best ball, and I think they're playing with a chip on their shoulder, an edge, because I think they made a good case for being a number 1 seed, especially since, again, they went to South Carolina and just beat the brakes off of them down there. And Gino, say whatever, but he makes a good point about how these fields are set. And of course, he's made a good point here in recent days about the kind of schedule that the women's teams face as opposed to the men's team, because there's a very short turnaround for those Monday night games to when they have to play on Friday night. And I mean, I don't think it's going to bother him so much, but other than say having to fly all the way across the country from Spokane, to Tampa for the Final Four. But if any team's going to be ready, it's going to be UConn, and they're showing that in this tournament.
Well, UConn's playing really good ball. Becca's had 40 on Saturday. She had 31 last night against USC. Very unbelievable player. She's absolutely one of the best in the country. UConn is just a well-oiled machine. Fudd did not have a great scoring night. She didn't score a bucket until the fourth quarter, and she scored 8 points in the fourth quarter. But they were getting stuff out of what's the young lady's name? Number 21, Sonia. Was that Summers, Sonia Springs, or something?
Yeah, I'm trying to call that up myself.
She had 20 some points and double digits in rebounds. Played a great game. They had one of the guards transferred in from, I can't remember her name. She transferred in from Princeton. Played really well. The thing also that makes this UConn team dangerous, Ariyama has had so many injuries in the last couple of years. He hasn't had a full team. This year, he actually has 8 or 9 kids he can go to, and they're tough. And Gary, remember I told you, guard play is really important in these tournaments. He has another guard, KK Arnold. She can come in and she can cause problems for him as well for different teams. I think when they match up against UCLA has an aircraft carrier. I think her name is Betts. Tough, but I think, yeah, I'm not sure. I think it's Betts. I think it's Betts, Gary. Look that one up. Let me know too. The older I get, I'm getting worse with names, man. I'm sorry. But
yeah. It's like we remember them for a hot second, and then it goes away. That comes with it.
Yeah. But the thing is, I think UConn is able to neutralize them. They got some good ball players down in the paint as well. I think UConn beats UCLA. On the other side, Texas played TCU. TCU had beaten Notre Dame on Saturday. Notre Dame was up by 9, but they couldn't close the deal. TCU has a unbelievable aircraft carrier in Sonia Prince. Haley Von Liff is a prolific shooter. She had like 26 or 28 points, but then they went up against Texas, and that was a struggle. Texas made them play faster than they wanted to play. Texas kept pressure on them. And I'm going to tell you something. Madison Booker on Texas, she's a player, man. She is a player. She is tough. The little point guard they have, Harmon. She's the little engine that makes them go. Good ball player. They're going against South Carolina. South Carolina's had 2 hard games these last couple weeks. These last couple games. They had Maryland. They ended up winning by 4. And Maryland had a chance to tie with like less than a minute to go in the game, and things didn't go right for them. Then they played Duke, and Duke, at the style that they played, the slowdown that they played, they had South Carolina struggling, but South Carolina was able to pull it out. South Carolina with their players down low, and Pow at the guard is rough. They can go 9 or 10 deep. They can bring Tessa Johnson off the bench. They can bring my favorite player, Falasia Wiley, in the game. She had a rough game against Duke. Different pace of game, I think, was a struggle for her. This Texas game is going to be at the pace that she will be an advantage to South Carolina. The other young lady they have, I think her name Raven Johnson. Tough guard, really tough, really tough. unsung hero on South Carolina. A lot of people don't give her a lot of credit. She does a lot of things you don't see. Chloe Kitts.
Hmm.
She
Hmm.
scores 10 points here. She gets 8 or 9 rebounds there. You know, she doesn't get a lot of credit. She does a lot of the things that nobody wants to do, and she does it quietly and does a good job with it. You know, so I think Texas playing South Carolina. I think South Carolina beats Texas.
A third
Then you
time.
have,
No, wait a
then
minute.
you
I'm
have.
sorry. No, I'm sorry. They win the rubber match. Yeah, because this is their
No, this
third
isn't the rubber
game.
match. This is the fourth time they played each other.
Is that the fourth? That's no, that's
Yeah,
right. Yeah, you're right. Twice during the regular season and
this
and once in
SEC.
the SEC tournament. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I forgot about
I
that one.
think I think South Carolina gets them one more time, and then you got UConn and South Carolina one more time. I absolutely, positively want to be wrong. I have no interest in being right on this, Gary Graves. I think UConn beats South Carolina. I think the guard play will be a difference. They are the pressure that South Carolina is going to put on UConn. I don't think it's going to bother them like it bothers other teams. And their shooting is unbelievable.
Hmm.
You got to be up on your shooting. You got to be up on calling your picks out and fighting through picks, going over picks instead of under picks, you know, all that stuff. And I don't think it'll be a blowout like it was last time. It'll be a closer game, but I think UConn will get them. And my God, I'm praying that I am wrong. I'm absolutely praying that I don't even want to be right about that. But I just
Yeah,
think UConn has a little bit too much for them.
yeah. John. Again, I agree with you on that wholeheartedly. And that's one of those things, just like you. It's like I kind of hope I'm wrong, but you know, there's no shame for South Carolina in not being that team like last year. You
Mm-hmm.
use the term aircraft carrier, um, which I'll say my term is inside presence. The inside presence that Camila Cardoso gave them last year, they don't have to that same extent. With Chloe Kitts, and that's no knock against her. It's just a physical presence, and it's just a way that they know that they can feed the ball inside. To her last year, they don't necessarily have that. They're more kind of like, say, playing around the elbows and shooting from outside. But one thing I won't underestimate South Carolina on in any respect is you use the term resilience. Which I guess is the same thing as heart, that they found a way to adjust to this, to their personnel this year, and they really have done a good job since. I'm trying to think what was the last marquee loss. I can't remember whether it was Texas or UConn, and I think it was UConn. Was probably the most recent one. They're a much different team, but to your point, that UConn showed back in February what kind of team they're going to be, and I think that's the team that you really have to look at as the team to beat at this point, because again, they were underseeded only because just because everybody went with like the sexy teams, but the sexy programs, at least in that bracket. But I think now, UConn is they're playing their best ball when they need to. So I think it's just going to be, it's just like what you said. I would love to see Dawn get another one, but I think Gino has a complete squad to get it done.
Gary, I agree with you. We're going to see what's going to happen. We're going to have a lot to talk about next week after these games. Before we wrap up, I'm going to let you talk a couple minutes. Maryland is
Made it
in the
official.
process, but now it is official. They have a new coach. I just sent it to you. What's your
Hmm.
thoughts on what's happened with Willard, Kevin Willard going to Villanova, and now they're bringing a new coach in at Maryland? And like I said, Gary, I only got a couple minutes, man, so give it
Okay,
to us.
I'm gonna say it quick. Okay, I understand the frustration with Willard. I understand some of the anger toward Willard for how he handled it. But in a sense, I feel like he said what had to be said about the situation he was in. He was not the first coach that they wanted, but they got him, and I thought it was a solid hire. I don't know if it was a bridge hire. Maybe he was the bridge hire that gets you to Buzz Williams, who I really like. I wasn't wasn't that convinced he was going to take that job because he liked Texas A&M. That was a job he really, really wanted, and he did well there. And I've dealt with Buzz on several occasions. Like when he was at Colorado State, and I mean, just really, and I think Virginia Tech as well. I think that was one of his other stops too. So I think he's a
Marquette, Virginia Tech.
yeah, Marquette. Oh, yeah, that's right. I forgot about Marquette too. But I think for Maryland, it's a great hire because he's a great recruiter. He's a great X's and O's guy, and I think he moving to the ACC gives him a chance to really compete against the coaches. Really, that in a conference where I think. Oh, I'm sorry. Ooh, I said ACC.
He's
I'm
still
sorry.
Big
Big
Ten.
Ten. Woo, Big Ten. That he's in a conference that I think he knows he can contend with, especially with the turnover, thanks to the transfer portal and NIL and the draft and such. So the main thing he's got to do is really try to keep some core of this team there in College Park, and I think he'll be fine in the Big Ten because he wants to go against the guys like Tom Izzo, the big dog.
Well, we're going to see how it plays out. Gary, go ahead and take us home.
Well, hey, another great weekend we've got coming up starting Friday with the women's Final Four, then the men on Saturday, women's championship on Sunday, and then the men's final next Monday night. We've already given our picks, but I'm just going to say the fun in this part is really seeing how it's going to play out. This tournament, I think, has been on both sides probably one of the best overall top to bottom tournaments in terms of fields and competition that I've seen in a while. Even though all the top seeds showed who they are, but it gives you something to watch. And if you need a break from basketball, there's always the national pastime. And John, how you'd like your Baltimore Orioles? I'll throw it to you to close it up.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for watching us again this week. Another great show, another great week of sports. Continue to watch sports with us. Watch the NCAA. You got exciting games coming up with the men on Saturday and Monday night. Exciting games coming up with the women on Friday and Sunday. Exciting times. Join us when we talk about it. Watch it. Watch some baseball. Watch some hockey. Watch some United Football League. But just watch some sports and come back and see us. Take care.